8 years. 8 years I'd been lucky enough to spend with Jenna, the woman who painted my world with colors I never knew existed. We met right here, at my parents' old cottage on Lake Serenity. That first summer, her laughter echoed across the water, drawing me in like a moth to a flame. Now, standing on this very dock, the sun warming my face and the scent of pine in the air, I knew it was time. Time to ask her to spend forever with me. I'd meticulously planned everything. The ring, a delicate band with a sapphire that mirrored the lake on a clear summer day, was tucked securely in my pocket. My parents had discreetly decorated the cottage with fairy lights and her favorite sunflowers. I'd even coordinated with her best friend, Sarah, to accidentally suggest she wear the soft blue dress she loved. Everything was perfect. Jenna and I had spent the morning hiking through the familiar trails, reminiscing about our first awkward conversations and the stolen kisses under the starlit sky. We'd picnicked by the waterfall, sharing stories and dreams for the future. As we walked back towards the cottage, hand in hand, I could feel the anticipation building within me, a mix of excitement and nervous energy. The lake shimmered in the afternoon sun, and the gentle breeze rustled through the leaves, creating a soothing melody. We reached the dock, and I led her to the end, where the view was the most breathtaking. The turquoise water stretched out before us, meeting the horizon in a hazy embrace. "Remember that summer, babe?" I asked, my voice laced with fondness, "when we first met here? I knew from that moment I was gonna marry you one day." Jenna smiled, her eyes sparkling with affection, and she squeezed my hand. "Of course, I remember. It feels like a lifetime ago, but I remember every moment. You were so shy, John. I practically had to drag you out of your shell." We both laughed, the sound echoing across the water. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart. This was it. The moment I had been waiting for. I began to tell her how much she meant to me, reciting a mental prepared speech that ultimately fell apart and turned into "I love yous" and sentences, but it flowed from the heart. "Jenna," I said, my voice thick with emotion, "you are my best friend, my confidant, the love of my life. You make me a better man every single day." I dropped to one knee, pulled the ring box from my pocket, and opened it, revealing the sapphire sparkling in the sunlight. "Jenna, will you do me the incredible honor of becoming my wife?" The words hung in the air, heavy with hope and anticipation. Her eyes widened, filled with tears, and for a moment, the world seemed to stop spinning. Before Jenna could answer, a shrill voice shattered the idyllic scene. "You don't belong here." The words cut through the air like shards of glass. I turned to see Karen Jones, our neighbor, standing on the edge of the dock, her face contorted with rage. In her hand, she held a bucket of bright blue paint. Before I could react, she lunged forward and hurled the contents of the bucket at Jenna. The cold, sticky paint splattered all over her, coating her hair, her dress, and her skin. Jenna gasped, stumbling backward in shock. I was instantly consumed by a white-hot rage. My fists clenched, and I took a step towards Karen, ready to unleash my fury. But then I saw Jenna. The blue paint dripped down her face, mixing with her tears. Her eyes, moments before filled with joy, were now wide with fear and humiliation. The sight of her distress instantly quelled my anger and replaced it with a fierce protectiveness. The words spewing from Karen's mouth were vile, a torrent of racist slurs and hateful accusations. She screamed that we were ruining the neighborhood, that people like us didn't belong in this pristine community. I tuned out her hateful rant and focused on Jenna, gently wiping the paint from her face with my shirt. "Are you okay, baby?" I asked, my voice trembling with concern. Her bottom lip quivered, and she nodded weakly, unable to speak. The ring box lay open on the dock, the sapphire glinting mockingly in the sunlight. My perfect plan had disintegrated into a nightmare. My dream proposal was tarnished by hate and prejudice. I wanted to scream, to break something, to make Karen pay for what she had done. But I knew that wasn't the answer and started to think on my feet. I glanced around, desperately searching for a way to salvage the situation. My parents were nowhere to be seen. They must have been inside the cottage, oblivious to the unfolding horror. I took a deep breath and forced myself to remain calm. I knew I had to get Jenna away from Karen, away from the hateful words and the stinging humiliation. I gently took her hand and led her towards the cottage. Karen continued to scream insults, her voice growing louder and more frantic. As we passed her, I paused and looked her directly in the eye. My gaze was cold, devoid of emotion. "You will regret this," I said, my voice low and menacing. "I promise you that." And then, I turned and led Jenna away, leaving Karen standing on the dock, her face flushed with anger. The sound of her hateful words faded as we entered the cottage, but the pain and humiliation lingered, a heavy weight in the air. Inside the cottage, my parents were stunned, horrified by what had transpired. My mom immediately wrapped Jenna in a warm embrace, while my dad called 911. I cleaned Jenna as best I could and comforted her while she was in shock. My mother tended to her while I spoke with the officer. After explaining everything to the officer, they immediately went to go and arrest Karen off of the property. My parents were absolutely disgusted. They said they had a feeling Karen was racist, but they had never seen it firsthand. While the police were arresting Karen, I saw an opportunity. We all did. Jenna knew I was still trying to get this proposal done and she was smiling. I knew I still wanted to propose, and honestly I did it without hesitation. The cops gave us some space and I got back down on one knee. It wasn't perfect, but it was us. Raw, real, and resilient. Jenna, still covered in blue paint, nodded through her tears. A sob escaped my lips as I slid the ring onto her finger. It was a resounding yes, a declaration of love that transcended the hate and ugliness that had just transpired. My parents cheered, tears in their eyes, as we embraced. The police officers smiled, a rare moment of humanity amidst the chaos. It wasn't the perfect proposal I had envisioned, but it was ours. It was a testament to our love, our strength, and our ability to overcome adversity. The police took Karen away, her hateful shouts echoing in the distance. I knew that this wasn't the end of the story, but it was a start. A start to holding her accountable for her actions, a start to healing the wounds she had inflicted. The rest of the day was a blur of police interviews, comforting Jenna, and trying to make sense of what had happened. My parents were incredibly supportive, offering words of encouragement and unwavering love. The lake, once a symbol of tranquility and romance, now felt tainted by the ugliness of Karen's hate. But amidst the darkness, there was a glimmer of hope. Jenna said yes. News of the incident spread like wildfire. Social media exploded with outrage, with people condemning Karen's racist actions and expressing support for Jenna and me. The hashtag #BlueForJenna started trending, with people posting pictures of themselves wearing blue in solidarity. I was overwhelmed by the outpouring of love and support from strangers around the world. But amidst the positive messages, there were also hateful comments and threats directed at us. I knew that Karen's actions had stirred up a hornet's nest of racism and bigotry. The local news station reached out, eager to interview us about the incident. I was hesitant at first, but Jenna convinced me that it was important to share our story, to raise awareness about the pervasive nature of racism, and to inspire others to stand up against hate. We decided to turn the negative experience into a force for good. We organized a fundraising campaign to support organizations that fight against racial injustice. We called it Operation Blue Justice, and the response was overwhelming. People donated generously, eager to contribute to the cause. I started to feel a sense of purpose, a determination to make a difference in the world. I knew that Karen's actions had been motivated by hate, but I refused to let hate define us. We would use this experience to spread love, compassion, and understanding. We would turn the blue paint of hate into a symbol of hope and resilience. When the day of the news interview arrived, Jenna and I held hands, drawing strength from each other. We spoke candidly about the incident, about the pain and humiliation we had experienced, and about our determination to fight against racism. We emphasized the importance of education, empathy, and allyship. We called on people to challenge their own biases and to stand up for those who are marginalized and oppressed. The interview went viral, reaching millions of people around the world. We received countless messages of support, with people sharing their own stories of experiencing racism and discrimination. As the legal proceedings against Karen began, I started to investigate her background. With the help of a few journalist friends, we uncovered a history of racist behavior and discriminatory practices. It turned out that Karen had a long list of complaints filed against her for harassment and discrimination. She had been known for making disparaging remarks about people of color and for trying to exclude them from community events. She had even been involved in a lawsuit for denying housing to a black family. The more we dug, the more we discovered about Karen's deep-seated prejudice and her pattern of hateful behavior. I decided to use this information to our advantage. I leaked the details of Karen's past to the media, exposing her hypocrisy and revealing her true character. The public outcry was deafening. People were disgusted by her actions and demanded that she be held accountable. Local businesses boycotted her company, and her reputation was shattered. Karen's life began to unravel. She lost her job, her friends, and her social standing. She became a pariah in the community, ostracized and humiliated. I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. She had tried to ruin our lives, and now, she was facing the consequences of her actions. During the trial, I testified about the emotional distress and trauma that Karen had inflicted on Jenna and me. I described the pain of being targeted because of our race and the humiliation of having our special moment ruined by hate. Jenna also testified, bravely recounting the details of the incident and describing the impact it had on her life. She spoke with grace and eloquence, capturing the hearts of the jury. Karen, on the other hand, was defiant and unapologetic. She refused to acknowledge her wrongdoing and continued to spew racist rhetoric. Her arrogance and lack of remorse only further alienated the jury. I knew that justice would be served. The day of our wedding was magical. The sun shone brightly, the flowers bloomed in vibrant colors, and the air was filled with laughter and music. Jenna looked radiant in her white dress, her eyes sparkling with happiness. As we exchanged vows, I couldn't help but reflect on the journey we had taken to get to this moment. The hate and ugliness of the past had faded into the background, replaced by the beauty of our love. We danced the night away, surrounded by our loved ones, celebrating the beginning of our forever.